Hello and welcome to NibblePop Stories. Today we will hear the story of The Good Woman of Szechwan by Bertolt Brecht. Once the gods wanted to decide whether to keep the world the same or make it all over again. They came down to earth to see if there were enough good people. If there were, they would keep things as they were. However, after inspecting two cities, they hadn't encountered any virtuous individuals. Now they are on their way to Szechwan, a half-westernized and impoverished city. Wong is a water seller in Sezuan. Like everyone else, he is poor and struggles with his life. Sometimes he has to go far to find water because there isn't much. But when there is a lot, he doesn't sell as much. He hears a rumor that heaven is upset about all the complaints from the world and three powerful gods are coming to Szechwan to fix things. So, he is waiting at the city gates to welcome the gods when they arrive. Three gods arrive and Wong recognizes them immediately. The gods request that Wong find them a place to stay for the night, so Wong takes them to Mr. Fo's house. However, Mr. Fo declines to let them in. This happens repeatedly at other houses and Wong feels embarrassed. The gods wonder if there is a good person nearby. After repeatedly being turned away, Wong remembers one person left in the village who never refuses a guest, Shen Te. Shen Te is actually a prostitute. Wong tries to hide her profession from the gods, but obviously the gods know everything by default. Wong takes them to Shen Te's house, but she initially refuses to let the gods stay because she is expecting a customer and her rent is due the next day. After Wong pleads with her, she agrees to let the customer go, waits until he leaves, and then allows the gods to enter. Wong goes to his den in the sewer pipe and Shen Te welcomes the gods into her home. The next day, while leaving, the gods praise Shen Te for her goodness. However, Shen Te lacks confidence in her own goodness, believing that her poverty prevents her from being truly virtuous. She explains that she initially hesitated to give them shelter and has to do a job she is not proud of. She also admits to lying sometimes and wanting things that belong to others. The gods, however, take Shen Te's self-doubts as proof of her goodness and encourage her to keep trying to be good. Shen Te argues that goodness is expensive. The gods, understanding her difficulty, give her 1,000 silver dollars before leaving. Shen Te uses the money the gods give her to rent a small tobacco shop. But she soon finds herself in trouble as news of her good fortune spreads throughout town. She does not own a penny to anyone, but everyone comes to claim a share of her wealth. Mrs. Shin, the former proprietor of the shop, demands Shen Te give her enough rice to feed her family each day. Shen Te gives her rice. An unemployed man came asking for a free cigarette. Shen Te gives him a pack. The carpenter who installed the shelves in the store for the last owner threatens to take them away unless Shen Te pays him. Shen Te asks him to put his claim in writing and to have some patience. A destitute family of 8, a husband, wife, nephew, niece, brother, sister-in-law, grandfather, and a young boy who once sheltered Shen Te briefly when she first arrived at Szechwan, take shelter in the shop's back room. Mrs. Mitsu, the landlady, came demanding male references who could vouch for Shen Te's finances and 6 months' rent in advance. Shen Te claims she has a cousin, Shui Ta, who is a businessman. She promises Shui Ta will visit soon to vouch for Shen Te. The busy first day at Shen Te's shop concludes as she wonders how needy people cling to the lifeboat of one lucky person's success. She is sad because she cannot help everyone and she has to lie about her cousin's existence. Meanwhile, the gods visit Wong in his dream and ask him to check whether Shen Te has remained good. Things get more and more complicated for Shen Te herself. Since there was no real cousin, Shen Te disguises herself as Shui Ta and makes tough decisions to save her shop. She kicks the family of 8 out during business hours, tidies up the shop, bargains with the carpenter, finally convincing him to settle for 20 silver dollars instead of the outrageous 100 he was demanding. She negotiates with Mrs. Mitsu and even puts an ad in the paper for a rich husband for Shen Te to help run her business, all under the disguise of Shui Ta, her imaginary cousin. One afternoon in a park, Shen Te meets Yang Sun, an unemployed pilot who was thinking about suicide. He tells her there is no work for him anymore and he feels worthless. Shen Te shares her own story, explaining that she used to be a prostitute but was given a gift from the gods that allowed her to start her tobacco shop. Shen Te falls in love with Yang Sun. Wong appears singing about how he cannot sell water when it's raining. Shen Te greets him and buys some water from him. Once again, the gods visit Wong in his dreams. Wong tells them that he saw Shen Te and she is still good. She bought water from him despite the rain. She is in love and constantly doing good deeds. The gods want more details. Wong explains how Shen Te gives away tobacco if customers can't pay, hosts a family of 8 in the tobacco shop, and provides rice every morning to those in need. The first god is disappointed, knowing that this level of goodness is not sustainable. When Wong mentions that Shen Te's cousin, Shui Ta, negotiated a lower price with the carpenter, the gods become angry. The second god insists that Shui Ta should never cross Shen Te's threshold again because he is a negative influence. There is a barber, Shufu, who secretly loves Shen Te. Wong tries to sell water to Shufu's customers. Shufu chases Wong out and injures his hand with a hot curling iron. The unemployed man, you remember him, who asked for free cigarette? He is present there, along with Mrs. Shin. They advise Wong to go to the police. Meanwhile, Shen Te returns home after spending the night at Yang Sun's house. She is in a happy mood. She gives rice for free to people outside her tobacco shop and buys a shawl from a carpet shop. The carpet shop owner, an old woman, lends her 200 silver dollars without being asked. Shen Te considers this a miracle. Outside her shop, Mrs. Shin points out Wong's injured hand to Shen Te. Shen Te suggests seeing a doctor, but the unemployed man suggests going to a judge for compensation. When Wong looks for witnesses, no one volunteers. Shen Te offers to lie for him and say that she had witnessed it. Mrs. Yang Sun's mother, tells Shen Te that her son has been offered a job in Peking, but he needs 500 silver dollars. Shen Te gives Mrs. Yang $200, which she had got from the carpet shop owner as a loan. She promises to arrange 300 more. In the meantime, Shu Fu, the barber, wants to marry Shen Te. He offers her the opportunity to manage some of his cabins. Meanwhile, Yang Sun becomes impatient for the rest of the money. To get the money, Shui Ta, that is actually Shen Te, who is disguised, decides to sell the tobacco shop. Yang Sun, who does not recognize Shen Te in disguise, reveals his plan to Shui Ta to betray her once he receives the money. Wong looks for Shen Te for her testimony against Shu Fu in the curling iron case. However, Shui Ta gets rid of him by saying that his cousin Shen Te wasn't present during the assault. Instead, he allows Wong to use Shen Te's new shawl as a sling. He indicates that her relationship with Yang Sun is over, hence she no longer needs to impress him with nice things. However, despite knowing Yang Sun's true intentions, Shen Te chooses to stay with him and reject Shu Fu's marriage proposal. She sings, "I don't want to know if he loves me. I want to be with the man I love." Now the lady from the carpet shop wants her 200 silver dollars back from Shen Te. Her husband got sick, worrying about the repayment. Shen Te says she will repay as soon as possible, but she herself does not have a clue how to do it. The wedding of Shen Te and Yang turns into a disaster. She could not sell the shop because she needs to repay the loan to the carpet woman. But then, how can she arrange $300 she promised to Yang Sun? Mrs. Yang says that Yang Sun won't marry her without the money. They wait for Shui Ta, but we all know Shui Ta and Shen Te cannot appear together, don't we? So the wedding is postponed. Once more, the gods come to Wong's dream. Wong asks them to help Shen Te because she is in big trouble. However, they refuse to intervene, quoting, "God only helps those who help themselves." Now, while this is happening, Mrs. Shin discovers that Shen Te and Shui Ta are the same person. And at the same time, Shu Fu gives Shen Te a blank check to support her financially. Mrs. Shin criticizes Shen Te for still caring about Yang Sun when Shu Fu is available. Shen Te discovers she has become pregnant with Yang Sun's child. I hope you have not forgotten the carpenter. Wong brings one of the carpenter's children to Shen Te. The carpenter lost his job and began drinking. Shen Te suggests that the carpenter's family stay in Shu Fu's cabins. The couple from the family of 8 requests that Shen Te hide their stolen tobacco in her home. Shen Te cannot say no, so she reluctantly agrees. They ask her to claim the tobacco as hers if the police inquire. One day, Shen Te sees the carpenter's child scavenging for food. She has a realization. She must be strong to provide for her own child. Dressed as Shui Ta, she informs people that they may stay in Shu Fu's cabins if they work for her. She decides not to sell the shop and uses Shu Fu's blank check to pay Mrs. Mitsu. Some time has gone by. Yang Sun has used up all the money Shen Te has given him. Unfortunately, he has not been able to find a job. However, Shui Ta hires him as a foreman and he performs well in his job. Shui Ta is happy that he was able to bring out the best in Yang Sun. More time goes by. Shui Ta has gained weight because Shui Ta is actually Shen Te and Shen Te is pregnant. Mrs. Shin tells him that the old couple lost their carpet shop because Shen Te repaid the $200 too late. She tells Shui Ta that she knows Shui Ta's real identity and about the pregnancy. Meanwhile, things get chaotic at the factory. The police want to shut it down because there are twice as many workers as allowed by law. In front of Yang Sun, Wong tells Shui Ta that Shen Te is pregnant. Yang Sun thinks Shui Ta, who is a man, he has sent his cousin away to hide her pregnancy. He does not know that Shui Ta is actually Shen Te. Shui Ta goes to the back room and cries loudly. Yang Sun hears it from outside and thinks it is Shen Te. When Shui Ta returns, Yang Sun accuses him of locking Shen Te in the back room. Yang Sun returns with the policeman. The policeman searches for Shen Te in the back room and finds nothing but her clothes. Everybody thinks Shui Ta has killed his cousin and the policeman arrests him. The gods come to Wong one final time, looking tired and upset. They have lost all hope of finding another good person in the world. They believe that people are inherently flawed and weak. In a final attempt to save humanity, they decide to seek out Shen Te as she is their only hope for goodness to prevail. In the courtroom, the policeman introduces the judges who are actually three gods in disguise. Shui Ta claims he has not murdered his cousin. The policeman, Mr. Shu Fu, and Mrs. Mitsu all support Shui Ta's innocence. However, Wong, the carpenter, the elderly couple, the jobless man, the sister-in-law, and the niece all testify against him. Surprisingly, Yang Sun defends Shui Ta. He states that Shui Ta is not a murderer. Yang Sun claims he heard Shen Te's voice in the back room of the tobacco shop. Does it not prove she is alive? Wong accuses Shui Ta of ruining the tobacco shop, which was supposed to be a source of goodness. The gods notice his injury. He blames Shui Ta for it. He says Shen Te was going to help him see a doctor, but Shui Ta refused. Shui Ta breaks down and asks the judges to clear the courtroom so he can confess. The policeman does so, and everyone leaves. Shui Ta tears off his clothes and reveals himself to be Shen Te. Shen Te tells the gods that trying to be good to others and herself at the same time has torn her apart. She questions why good deeds are punished. She did everything to help her neighbor, keep her lover, and provide for her child. She feels too small and too poor to meet the gods' expectations. The gods feel sorry for her, but remind her of the many good deeds she has done. They urge her not to lose courage. She must continue being good. Shen Te asks for guidance. How could she help the old couple who lost their shop, the water seller with the injured hand, the barber she is engaged to but doesn't love, the cruel man she does love, and the child she is expecting? She says she still needs her cousin to take tough decision for her. But the first god says that he is allowed to appear only once a month at most. She pleads for the gods to stay, but they depart. Shen Te continues screaming as they leave. Now you see, the world is a difficult place to live. It needs a change. But what can change it? New gods, atheism, materialism, morality? You decide. It is sure that there must be a way. And so we come to the end of The Good Woman of Setzuan or The Good Person of Szechwan by Bertolt Brecht. This is Monami Mukherjee signing off. Bye-bye.